The Man with the Golden Gun was released in 1974 and sees Roger Moore begin to define his Bond in the face of an energy crisis, hindered by the threat of one of the best villains in the series. After a gold bullet engraved with 007 puts Bond in the sights of deadly hitman Scaramanga, he's relieved from his mission surrounding the Solex agitator, a key component of a solar power plant. Instead, Bond travels to Thailand to track down the assassin, where it's revealed he plans to sell the solar device to the highest bidder and defeat 007 in a duel of showmanship. Wasting no time, production started on The Man with the Golden Gun shortly after Live and Let Die was released. In a continuation of screenplays reflecting the current trend, emphasis was made towards the 1973 energy crisis after Arab countries issued an oil embargo. This led to a greater interest in alternate forms of energy, namely renewable sources such as solar and wind. Equally as vogue was the kung fu genre. It was decided to move the story to the east since Fleming's novel was partly set in the Caribbean, much like Live and Let Die. With settings such as Hong Kong, Macau and Bangkok, it gave Bond the chance to show off his martial arts skill. Or not, as the case may be. Guy Hamilton returned to direct his fourth and final James Bond adventure, in his own words having run out of new thoughts to bring to the series. To many fans, however, his departure was welcomed. The Man with the Golden Gun is often ranked as one of the worst films in Bond history, and it's fair to say it does have problems. Tonally, the film is awkward when it comes to Bond himself. The light-hearted, debonair agent that Moore came to define is certainly apparent here, though there's also a trace of carelessness which seems out of place. The most obvious example is Bond's manhandling of Andrea, as he demands more information about Scaramanga. It doesn't make sense that he would avoid a fight with a murderous dwarf, seemingly in a chivalrous recognition of the unfair nature, yet slap around a woman who posed no real threat.
But it still remains the only true test for gentlemen.
I doubt if you qualify on that score.
I said where?
I don't know where. He doesn't tell me everything. I know he has a date at the Bottom Sub Club tonight.
However, I accept.
And though Bond's relationship with women throughout the series has always been precarious, in The Man with the Golden Gun it does seem especially crass. After bedding Andrea, he says to Goodnight,
"Forgive me, darling. Your turn will come, I promise."
Overall, it leaves Bond appearing distinctly unpleasant. Mary Goodnight is perhaps the most pathetic treatment of a Bond girl thus far, and it's got absolutely nothing to do with Britt Ekland's performance. The character was doomed from the start after she was giving no redeeming qualities. Everything she does is wrong. A character's mistakes can be entertaining when juxtaposed with their competence. Goodnight wasn't given the chance, and the end result is just apathy towards the supposed field operative. So the good guys don't have much going for them. Thankfully, the villain more than makes up for it. Christopher Lee's Francisco Scaramanga dominates every scene he's in, thanks to Lee's stature and distinctive bold voice. The character of Scaramanga is treated almost as Bond's alter ego, and demonstrates the fine line of morality 007 walks as a man with a license to kill.
You work for peanuts. A hearty well done from Her Majesty the Queen and a pittance of a pension. Apart from that, we are the same. To us, Mr. Bond, we are the best.
Originally, the script contained more plot concerning the parallel nature of the two, though unfortunately much was dropped with the introduction of writer Richard Maybaum. Instead, it was decided science lectures from them were far more interesting.
A solar energy station. Thermoelectric generators to convert solar energy into electricity coils cooled by 453 degrees below zero where liquid helium.
The panels lock onto the sun and then track it automatically.
Something like that, yes.
Despite his size, Hervé Villechaize also leaves a large impression on the film, playing Scaramanga's servant Knick-Knack, as he hops about with the perfect mixture of playfulness and menace. But enough of the good stuff, back to the film's so-called problems. Bond is rescued from a dojo by two students who proceed to plough through a number of highly trained fighters with ease. The reappearance of a certain Louisiana sheriff, coincidentally on holiday at the same time. A daredevil car stunt ruined by an obnoxious slide whistle. I say so-called problems because, like it or not, these weren't to be like the Connery films of the 60s. The Bond franchise had to develop. Arguably, the series could have done itself more harm than good if it stubbornly refused to move with the times. And though not everything is defendable, if you sit back and let yourself get into the mindset of no-holds-barred adventure, The Man with the Golden Gun is very enjoyable. Khao Ping Khan has since become a huge tourist attraction, dubbed the James Bond Island. And of course, it's thanks to this film that gamers have had the chance to annoyingly one-shot their friends, ever since the Nintendo 64. Unfortunately, the poor response to the film's release left it as one of the lowest grossing Bond films in its history, partly due to a weak advertising campaign. Roger Moore's popularity was in question, Harry Saltzman parted ways from the series, and critics were denouncing the film's uninspired nature, though as the saying goes, the darkest hour is just before the dawn.
Now, if Hip doesn't come up with a lead, there's really nothing very much for us to do tonight. Or is there?
Oh, darling, I'm tempted. But killing a few hours as one of your passing fancies isn't quite my scene.